prosecuted and laid the case out, he's going to have a strong case for appeal if he does get convicted, because they painted an early picture of him to a jury without laying out solid evidence. At least this is my opinion, from what I've only read because the courtroom was closed. But I don't see what they laid out solid evidence of being of him being a sex trafficker and being involved in a RICO. Now, with a RICO, you still have to have more than one person that's on the RICO for it to be a RICO. So we will see. All I'm cheering for is justice.
That's it. That's it. Either side.
Either side, whoever that justice is supposed to go for, that's what I'm cheering for. So But what else we got today before we go to our special guest?
I know. I heard you. So we do have the 2 tickets. So one caller will call in later on to get the 2 tickets, and I'm excited about that show on All White Celebrity Birthday Bash. Shout out DJ Steve.
You got your outfit already?
I did.
Yeah.
I got 2 of them. I'm like, okay, let me get 2, because in this climate we're in this Southern Soul world, we do line dance, and I need to be able to. dance. We gotta be able to dance. So I got something to dance. Speaking of Southern Soul Tuesday, right?
Yes.
Each and every Tuesday at M Bar, Jackson, Mississippi, we have Southern Soul Tuesday, where artists come and perform, where artists who perform Southern Soul music come to perform live in front of fans of Southern Soul and line dancers, of course. And yesterday, shout out to the Southern Belle. Shannon Denson from Flora, Mississippi. Okay. She came in and did her Madison County. Yeah, she came and did her thing. Shout out to Jenny B. She hopped on and we had open mic. Shout out to Mr. Carlos and Kyrell. They call him the singing police. Shout out Kyrell. His song was played, and his voice may or may not have been heard. That's all I'm saying. But shout out to those who come.
So what people got to do if they're such and so artists who want to perform?
Good question. Visit me first of all, Marlena, right on Facebook, and I have a registration there. Visit us on The Lounge Radio Show on Facebook, and reach out to us. I'll send you over that registration form. Once they register and provide some dates they're available, hey, I'll get them locked in, and they'll be able to sing in front of a crowd, a huge crowd of people that come to listen to Southern Soul. So, and this coming up Tuesday, which is going to be one of my favorites. I've loved all. We've been on. Matter of fact, today came across my memory. Today made a year of Southern Soul Tuesday. So I don't have my hand clap, so I just clap. Happy 1-year anniversary to Southern Soul fam for hanging in there. We've done a lot in a year, it seems. So met a lot of artists. Shout out Big DJ Big O when I called him a year ago, and he took a chance on us, and we've been going ever since. So. And we started with 2 people at the bar, and like one little stag song type. And now we're packing out the place and overflowing outside. So thank y'all for supporting us for the past year. And yeah, this coming up Tuesday to celebrate, we're gonna have line dance and fans. And so no artist will be performing. Hosted by myself and Jenny B, the hostess with the most.
It sounds like you gotta come ready to work out.
You gotta. So I counted my steps. I did my steps. I did 9,000 steps last night, and my heart rate went up to 200. So it's cardio here. It's cardio. We're gonna be teaching some dances. Big O will be on the 1s and 2s, and we're gonna have a good time. So everybody, if you in for dances, bring your fan. Not only for clacking, but for fanning, because it's hot and you're gonna sweat.
We'll keep on stepping.
Keep on stepping. We're gonna have a good time. So come out this Tuesday, May the 27th. You have nothing to do. Bring your fans, bring your comfortable shoes, and we're gonna do line dance and fans. So I think that's it for us. What we got? We're gonna go ahead and let Handy. What Handy? Can he get us a little tune, little 1-2?
Yeah,
look. Handy.
Have a song
you got knock on the window right there.
While we bring our
you can get us a little tune, a little song, a little 1-2, anything.
Right quick while we get ready for our guest.
Anything. So we're gonna let Handy get us a little tune, and on the other side, Jackson, Mississippi. This is super, super important. Stay tuned. Call your friends. Tell them to tune in. We have the Jackson mayoral candidate, Mr. Rodney DePriest, joining us. Y'all, DePriest. I say do.
It's DePriest.
Because I know who is that, the football player?
Yeah, it is. But this is Rodney DePriest.
D before the U. Okay, got it. DePriest. Take out the U. But Rodney DePriest will be joining us. I'm sure you guys have plenty of questions. I got some viewers' questions and residents' questions as well. So we're gonna definitely tune in. But if you have questions, disconnect after that so you can allow him time to answer the question.
Just make sure to be respectful at all times.
Yeah, we will do that. So again, Handy, take us to a song, and on the other side, mayoral candidate Rodney DePriest. I did it right. Stay tuned. You can come over. Look, I've been thinking about the DePriest, the football player.
Yeah, football. Yeah, he was Marcus
DePriest. Marcus, that's his name.
DePriest.
DePriest. See, I'm all wrong. I'm all wrong. I'm gonna fix our
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. I'm sure it is. Look, when we did our, I used to do a arena football, have some marketing with it. And he came out and supported. Okay, that's am I doing that right? Okay. I got a little long one. Oh. Okay. All right. So yeah. We can. I think what's the song in the front too, guys? The website too. I study. I died.
Not too hard.
But I like to be informed. So I can. Oh. See, he knows I'm the more little mice over here. Like
stuff. I used to say it was the opposite way.
It's the opposite. I'm the more little mice over here. Hold on, let me type. Let me fix this real quick. Look, everybody say I can barely
stretch that.
I can barely hear you, so everybody think I'm the mouth, the meat mouth. Okay.
I thought you were backing it up.
Oh, you thought he was good?
Man, that's how you get the vote.
That's how, right? That's what I'm gonna start by asking what radio station, what song are you listening to these days? You're not a music guy. Not a music guy. No. You want talk radio? Yes, indeed. Work it. Jump up, work the middle.
That had you.
I was back to last. I know, because now I'm like I'm tired. That's the opposite effect. I come on Tuesdays, I'm dancing all night. Yeah. So on Wednesday, I can sit down. I don't have to dance. I don't no cardio. But welcome back to the Lounge Radio Show with Marlena and Lex Luga. And as we promised, we have your Jackson mayoral candidate, Mr. Rodney DePriest. So make sure I say DePriest. Tell us how to pronounce it. Tell us.
DePriest.
DePriest. That's it. D and Priest.
Yep.
Mr. Rodney DePriest, welcome to the Lounge Radio Show.
Thank you for allowing me to be here.
You're so welcome. Look, we met a little while ago and had a nice sit down. We had a nice conversation, and I'm so happy you were able to join us today.
Glad to be here.
That's it. So we're gonna dive in. I think if for those who don't know you, if I was we're on the elevator for 30 seconds, tell us, Rodney DePriest, tell us a little bit about you, and then we're going to ask some questions about you.
We'll try to do it 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Born here in Jackson, 30-year resident of Jackson, spent the first 10 years of my life here, and the last 20 years of my life, the years in between, I was in Clinton's, where I graduated from Clinton High School and Mississippi College. I owned a construction company for a little over 20 years, and then went to Trustmark Bank, worked in senior management there, and had the privilege of serving on the Board of Aldermen in Clinton from 1993 to 2001. I was elected out there when I was 26, and I served 2 terms there. So I guess my 30 seconds is up. We'll get the rest later.
That's it. We're gonna get this. I like that. I like that because a lot of people, I don't know if they're familiar with you. I know, and you've been in Clinton. It's like it's Hines County, right? It's right there. It's neighbors of Jackson. But You've been here. You're born and raised here.
Born and raised here. My wife actually lived in South Jackson on Woody Drive and is a Wingfield High School graduate.
Okay.
And so even when I was living in Clinton, my first job in high school was downtown Jackson.
Okay.
Worked 6 years there, high school and college.
Yeah.
And so there's never been a period in my life that Jackson hadn't been an active part of my life.
That's it. I guess you told us you lived in Jackson up until the age of 10. Describe the Jackson you remember then. Young Rodney. Describe that Jackson.
That's really fun to talk about.
Okay.
Because the first home I lived in was 2 blocks from this station.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Just west of here, Wynwood Drive.
Okay.
And the apartments were called Camelot Apartments.
Uh-huh.
And Wynwood straight across from there. And so lived there, Westland Plaza.
Uh-huh.
Went Shoney's in the parking lot.
Okay.
You know, when I was a little kid, I talked about all them big kids riding their cars around and around Shoney's. And
Yeah.
Matt Gray's was there. Callaway's Yard and Garden was there. You know, when my grandmother took me to see Santa Claus, it was at Westland Plaza.
Okay.
So this just feels like home.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I've got to acknowledge it's not like it was when I was
Yeah.
here. And we so desperately need to provide some of the opportunities that I had the benefit of seeing when I was young.
Yeah. And that's really where I'm going with it. Like what you remember when you were coming up and others that, you know, in that time frame and up until 2025, Jackson, right?
Right.
And what led you to say, hey, I want to become mayor of Jackson. I know what Jackson used to be, and I know what it can be, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would say, I know our listeners would like to know, like, what moment or what led you to that moment to say, you know what, I'm going to put my hat in the race as an independent, because you are running as an independent, correct?
Absolutely.
And what made you say, I want to put my hat in that race?
There was a moment that I knew it was a process of probably 3 years, and I kind of ended my bio with my tenure at Trustmark, and I left Trustmark in 2021, and I'm my faith drives everything I do. I'm a broken, fallen person, so I'm not perfect, but I try to stay focused so that my faith leads me. And I just felt the nudging from in my spirit that it was time to leave Trustmark. God had something else for me.
Yeah.
And that allowed me to have some margin in my life for the first time in my adult life. And shortly after leaving the bank, a friend shared with me a TED Talk, Reverend Jeffrey Brown out of Boston, Massachusetts, and how some pastors dealt with youth violence in Boston. And when I saw that, it just pricked my heart. And I started sharing it. And it's like, well, nobody's really acting interested in this. And then I just realized, well, maybe it's something I need to consider, something I need to work on. Long before a conversation, I wasn't even thinking mayor, but I knew. I mean, I'm 58 years old, and I knew at that point I was the 55-year-old white guy, and I couldn't show up in Jackson like I had an answer, and I'm not even acting like I had an answer. I just wanted to, the way I put it, I wanted to earn the right to be part of a solution. And in conversations with Reverend Brown up in Boston and the amazing results that they had up there, I'm talking to Reverend Brown about that. And he said, Rodney, I know what you're talking about. He said, you just need a ministry of presence. Just show up. Just be present. Don't try to fix anybody. Don't come in with all the ideas. And just be present. And so for a period of time, the last 3.5 years, I've just been able to show up in places.
Yeah.
And it's allowed me to meet the community, meet pastors, meet young people. There's a group of pastors meet every Thursday at noon to pray. And one of the first places I showed up, I just walked in one day. And I was the only white guy there. Yeah. And I'm sure they thought, who is this guy?
Right.
But to this day, almost every Thursday, I still pray with them. Yeah. And they've become dear friends. And it led to meeting Vince Gordon, who's been Inner City Young Life Director for Jackson for 27 years now. And so now I'm in Jim Hill High School every Friday morning for Tigers for Christ with the students there. Yeah. And then the last 2 summers, my wife and I have been able to go to summer camp with the Inner City Jackson students. And so when I say that it's been a process of I'm careful to say I don't understand everything, but I've been through a process that's allowed me to understand better. Yeah. And through seeing that and understanding and building these relationships, after a little while, my new friends in the community started asking me about running for mayor. Yeah. Oh wow. And I kind of I pushed it off for probably a year and a half. And then about this time last year, it got brought up again. And made it a matter of prayer, had a group of pastors that just said, you know what, we're going to pray for you about this.
Yeah.
And all I can tell you is my heart changed, my wife's heart changed, and it's like, this is what God has for us right now.
Yeah.
And I'm careful to say, I want everybody to hear me. I feel like God put me on this journey. I'm not remotely saying God told me I'd be Mary Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
He put me on a journey. I'm going to be obedient to that journey. And I'm in the process now of wanting Jackson to know me as best they can.
Right.
And then I'm just going to trust the Lord for the outcome, whatever he has in this.
That's it. Yeah. And that's important. Especially if God has told you to do something, it's best to do it.
You just do it.
He didn't tell you what the outcome. He just needed you to do it.
I'm called to be obedient. That's all I'm called to be.
Yeah.
And leave the results up to him.
That's it. That's all we can do. That's the faith. Yeah. Now I know one question that you touched, Lex asked about running as an independent. One question was, have you always been an independent? And if not, what was it before and why the switch?
30 years ago, when I was on the board of Alderman, I was elected when I was 26. I was on the board as a Republican. Okay. And I am a conservative person by nature, absolutely conservative. And the idea of running as independent now is when you look at politics today and politics 30 years ago, it's light years apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember back in the 1990s when we had Newt Gingrich as Speaker of the House, staunch Republican, and Bill Clinton as a Democratic president, and they worked together and they balanced the budget.
Yeah, yeah.
And so our campaign theme is better together.
Yeah.
And it's more than a theme; it's genuinely my heart. And I just see a need for more of us to try to stand in the middle, pulling people together.
Yeah.
You know, I back in January, I was at the two museums for the National Day of Racial Healing, and Dr. Perkins was being honored. And Dr. Perkins stood up, and he had obviously, anytime he talks, it's worth listening to.
Yeah.
But what resonated with me, he said, you know, we talk a lot about the right wing and the left wing, the right wing and the left wing. He said, last time I checked, it took both of them for the plane to fly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I really love the thought of being the person in the middle. And I know good and well, we're not going to get everybody there.
Right.
But we need to get enough people there.
Yeah.
So that we can chip away at the issue, so we can understand perspective wise. I don't care how experienced somebody is. If you only have your perspective when you're assessing a problem, you're not going to have the complete picture.
That's it.
And I'm just determined that we get more people, more perspectives, assessing, so that whatever we do in the next 4 years, that we have sustainable results, and not, I've gotten my opportunity of power, I'm going to do it my way. And but collectively, I think we'll have sustainable improvement.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you this, Mr. DePriest. Now I'm gonna use that one for the rest of my life with the two wings. I hadn't heard that. I wish I would have had that with my kids growing up, to tell them about how the right and left wing, y'all guys need to work together. So definitely using that one.
Well, Dr. John Perkins, he's got to get the credit for it.
Okay, Dr. John Perkins.
That's right. That wasn't mine.
Okay.
I heard him say it.
Well, I still heard you say it first. So shout out to him.
You enlightened it, right?
Yeah, I got to give credit to
And
you.
then to go back to the parties, because one, I think a lot of people are losing faith in the Democratic Party. So and there's a lot of the younger generation. So the party thing is one of those, like, hey, let's get the party out the way and let's look at people at this point. You know, it's people are losing faith in what, like you said 30 years ago, what used to be. For me, the last Republican and John McCain, Senator John McCain, he was the last one. Like I said, you have beliefs. And I think if we all come together, we agree on more than what we disagree on. Right?
We have. My assessment is we've lost the art of conversation, and we're all about dueling monologues now. We've got our line, somebody else has their line.
It's my team versus your team. We got to get a win.
and that's where, you know, in the society of debate that we are, the goal is to win the argument, not to accomplish something.
Right.
And you know, Lex, you and I may agree 20% of the time, or 80% of the time, but even if we agree 80% of the time, in today's society, you're my 20% enemy.
Yes.
I'd rather be that.
We focus on the pieces we can't agree on, and if we will take the time to have the conversations, we are going to find we agree on many. What are our shared goals? Now, how can we set a few things aside and get something done?
Now, I hear one thing. I hear your wisdom, but I'm also curious as to what in your past history, personal or professional, that gives you qualifications to become the mayor of Jackson?
My education's in accounting. I'm a business guy. I'm a numbers guy. I've worked budgets. I started a construction company when I was 22 years old, and operated that company for 20 years. That taught me how to, make payrolls and manage budgets and build teams and meet customers' expectations. And quite honestly, to go through the hard times when there wasn't enough business and you made sure your employees got paid, and in a few weeks there just wasn't a check to go home, and knowing what the good and the bad of that looked like. Mm-hmm. And I felt like at that point, if anybody asked me, how to manage things, I was sure I did. But then I went to Trustmark, and I was blessed to go into a senior management role there where I was building their buildings and buying and selling their real estate, managing their properties. But I had a key seat in an organization that had almost 3,000 employees, and it had 200 locations in 6 states. And I saw how a complex organization really works. And it's as you translate that thought into the city's complex. And the management skills that are needed to really get the right people in the right seat, empower them to do a job, but then you have to hold them accountable. And I think that all that aligns well. But then I add in the 2 terms on the board of Alderman in Clinton, where I have seen municipal government done well, and we made plenty of mistakes. And we had disagreements between board members, between the mayor and the board, and we worked through all that. And what I so enjoyed about it is it didn't matter how much we disagreed in a board meeting. When it was over, we could all still go get coffee together. And having served on the board, which is the equivalent of the Jackson City Council, I respect the role of the council. And I know what it feels like when a mayor kind of obstructs your ability to do your job. Mm-hmm. And so I'm absolutely committed as mayor that we're going to respect the responsibility council people have just by state statute to the people that elected them, so that we can allow them to do their job well. Yeah. There will be disagreements. It's inevitable. But that's my mindset, and that's my heart of how I want to see this thing work. And so the business career, the management experience, the municipal experience, and even in city government, 30 years ago, we were building sewage treatment facilities in Clinton. We were assessing water systems. We were implementing pavement management systems that gave you an engineering criteria for how you handle your streets. Well, this one may only need crack sealed. This one may need to be paved. This one may need to be milled and overlaid. This one may need to be reconstructed. But it gives you an engineering basis for those decisions and lets you know, well, if you'll just seal the cracks here, you won't ever let it get to the point of need for reconstruction. Mm-hmm. And so we had a long way to go. I don't want to begin to imply, oh, I've got it. This is easy. This is going to be hard. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be all hands on deck. Mm-hmm. And it's going to take a long time. Yeah. But I would enjoy the opportunity to be able to start chipping away at it.
Yeah, most definitely. Another viewer's question is what, and I've heard you talk about the 2 things that you feel top priority is crime and what was infrastructure. What are your first, if elected, what is your plan for safety, the safety of Jackson immediately the first 120 days in office?
And there are a lot of questions. A lot of people ask 90 days, 100 days, 120 days, and I get that, and I'm glad to answer that. I want to start with my contractor. I'm going to put my contractor hat on. If we don't get the foundation right, it doesn't matter what we do later. Mm-hmm. And we have to invest the time, day one, to be sure that relationships with the council, relationships with city employees, restore relationships with city government, that we have a good foundation to build off of. Specifically on public safety and on violence. First off, kudos to Chief Wade for the improvement that we're currently seeing in violence in Jackson. It's there. The numbers are there. It's all we're seeing it every day. JPD no longer works in a silo. JPD is now cooperating with other local agencies, state agencies, federal agencies, and I've had the opportunity to study violence across the country and what worked really well in Boston, Massachusetts, and other cities. And the key component there is, first, the cross agencies, that cooperation. Mm-hmm. And then we hear a lot about community policing, where and typically that refers to the community, the policemen engaging the community. walk the streets a little bit, talk to the kids, shoot some hoops with them, talk to somebody sitting on the front porch. But the bigger picture of that for me is when the community actually becomes the police department's partner. You know, there was a day that the grandmother sitting on the front porch.
Oh,
She knew everything going on.
Right.
Everything.
She knew everything, and she would share.
Well, not only the community stepped in and helped. They like, well, I come from smaller country town, but I was raised around relatives, but still, nevertheless, even down the street, if I walk, this grandmother called my grandmother and said, I see her going down the street. Y'all, you know, it was people worked together. So if the police came in, it was only an emergency. It was only because the people handled the community, if that makes sense.
And so I want to be sure I answer the question well, but the cooperation between the agencies is critical. What Jackson is already doing is a data-driven approach where you literally look at the data closely and you let that drive where you focus your efforts. But another group other than the pastors out of Boston, there's a group out of John Jay College in New York called the National Network for Safe Communities, and it was started by a group of criminal justice professors up there. And they studied violence, and they finally decided we got to quit studying, we have to implement. Well, as I looked at Boston, they and the pastors were on the streets of Boston at the same time. Mm-hmm. And if you look at what the National Network's data, they have worked with communities across the city, they've had across the country, they've had great success. And the statistics across the country show that in any given city, you have between 0.5 and 0.9, less than 1% of the population is involved in a group or gang. Well, let's do the math. For Jackson, that'd be about 1,400 people. And of those, 20 to 30% are actually violent. Well, if we do the math, that gets us around 400. All of a sudden, it sounds manageable. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so the one of the key components of what they insist on having all these agencies together, just the way Chief Wade has already led to here. And then they add in probation, they add in parole. And you get in the room and you start having these conversations, and we'll just use the hypothetical 400 people. In most cities, they would find out when they all get together and start talking, they already know 300 other people. Yeah. And they know where they live. And one of the best parts about it is David Kennedy is the director of the National Network for Safe Communities. And he has a saying, we'll help you if you let us, we'll stop you if you don't. Mm-hmm. And so when you start having these conversations, we have to recognize we can't pull young people out of crime or out of violence and leave a void. You got to backfill it with something. Yeah. That's where the community comes in. Mm-hmm. The faith community service organizations, workforce development. What do you need? Mm-hmm. And they literally have call-ins where they'll get 30 young men in a room and they'll tell them, y'all come, nobody's getting arrested, bring your mama, bring your pastor, bring whoever you want to. Right. We're going to have a conversation. Mm-hmm. And here's your chance out. And if you don't take it, it's going to be rough.
Yeah.
So, well, first of all, shout out to some of the neighbors who told on me and got me a week out. That's it. You know, so I think I turned out all right. Y'all might have been part of it.
Thank you to them.
Yeah, so we give them a thank you. So now, with your business background, another part of Jackson is the businesses that's left, along with pay, here not only in Jackson in the state of Mississippi. What are some of your plans to maybe revitalize the economy and maybe help bring new development to the city of Jackson?
I'm going to sound like a broker.
You're going to go back to his 2 points.
Yeah, 2 points. Same 2 points.
It's balancing its infrastructure. We will not have reinvestment in this city to the degree that we need to really spur the economy and to grow the jobs if customers and employees don't feel safe. Mm-hmm. That investment will not happen. Yeah. And I sat downtown Jackson in Trustmark for 9 years. And I was part of every time we were losing water pressure and the tens of thousands of dollars that every time we thought we were going to lose it, that was spent just to keep the bank operating. Mm-hmm. Because Trustmark has banks in Florida, Alabama, and everywhere. They don't care if you got a problem in Jackson. Right. You still got to operate.
Right.
And so it's not glamorous, but this gets back to the foundation. If we don't deal with those two things, we will not have the reinvestment in our city that we need. Now, it's not like we don't work on the meantime. I think we have entrepreneurial opportunities. We have local business people that understand and see the needs, and we need to incentivize that to some degree. But as far as meaningful economic growth in the city, You have to take care of those two things.
Mhm.
And I love, there've been a lot of great plans on the, from the other candidates. I even told them one time, I said, if you wrote all of us up into one, we might have one good mayor.
Right.
But so there are good things out there. But at the end of the day, if employees and customers don't feel safe, you will not get the growth you need.
Yeah.
And we're in a beautiful situation in downtown Jackson right now because fortunately, downtowns across the Southeast have come back just going great.
Yeah.
And a lot of them started when they were in a horrible, deteriorated condition. Downtown Jackson looks great. It's actually in good condition.
Mm-hmm.
But the businesses have left.
They don't. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's due to infrastructure and it's due to not feeling safe. And I want to be the first one to say, the likelihood of experiencing violence yourself in Jackson is very, very, very low.
Very, yeah.
But as long as you lead the nations in certain statistics, that perception, it weighs on everybody's mind, and it's real, and we have to do something about it.
That's it. And just to pause, if you do have a question, I don't know if we gave the number earlier. That number is 601-948-5950, 601-948-5950. Definitely call in if you have a question. Jackson residents, call in if you have a question for mayoral candidate, Mr. Rodney DePriest. You gave us the plan for crime, and we know infrastructure, like you said, that's the second point and biggest issue, water and roads. What
Public Works
right? Oh, that's your answer.
Well, I mean, as far as if you want to tie something back to the first 100 days, I'm not going to promise you have one hired in the first 100 days, but all hands on deck. I mean, in a city of crumbling infrastructure, you have to have somebody that wakes up every day leading that charge. That's not distracted by anything else. So we have to get that role filled, and it has to be competent, capable, strong leadership.
Yeah. So that's, Jackson has had his share of issues when it comes to that, and people not really being trustworthy and doing what they're supposed to do in those roles. But you're saying, hey, that'd be one thing you look at immediately.
And I'm not gonna get ahead of myself, but being a contractor, having been on the board in Clinton, knowing a lot of consultant engineers and people in the public works field, I've already had conversations with people that wouldn't be a permanent person, but that could step in on an interim role to kind of help us right the ship and understand what we're doing while we're going through that process of a permanent replacement.
Got it. Most definitely. I want to hop over to transparency and trust. I think we touched on it a little bit. We've had Mayor Lumumba on the show, and we discussed with him some of the things that's been going on, especially during his term. But I guess just overall, within the past 20 whatever years, the citizens seem to have lost trust. There have been several things come out with mayors or the council. It's been a rocky road for citizens. What actions will you take? What are some things you would do to rebuild trust in the government and make leadership more accessible to the people?
Well, I think the first thing, what we do is more important than what we say. And I would invite anybody to go back and dig through my 30 plus year business history and my time in Clinton. We're actually at a point in time now where transparency is easier than it's ever been, with online access and things like that, where you can make documents available, you can make all of that out there, and you can have you just create your, whether it's your bidding process or RFP process or whatever, where it's open and everybody can see what's going on. And then at the same time, even with some of the new technology, well, we also have an age in our population that technology is not going to be for them. And we had this conversation amongst candidates the other night of, through constituent services, if somebody has a question about a contract or transparency, that's another arm of constituent services where they can help people find what they're looking for if they're not tech savvy. Right. If they can't throw the iPad up and pull up what they want.
Right.
So now, one question that's burning me personally that I must ask, because I heard you earlier say how you was led by the Spirit to even run for mayor.
Right.
So now, win or lose, this is what I'm saying, win or lose, or are you okay with working with anyone else that's an official in office? That's whether you win, because because I heard you earlier say, if you rolled us all up in one, we all make the perfect candidate. So if you won or lost, would you be accessible to working with other candidates or who's ever in office to make Jackson a better place, regardless of position?
June 4th, whether I wake up mayor-elect or not, I'm going to be working for Jackson. I spent the last 4 years of my life doing it. Now, whoever the mayor is, I absolutely commit my support. And do I know what that might or might not look like? Do I see myself as an employee in City Hall under somebody else? That doesn't seem real likely, but I will absolutely commit. Everything that I've learned and worked on through violence, it's open book. I mean, I've already shared some of this with Chief Wade. And just so my goal in this whole thing is, and this is a not smart thing for a candidate to say, my goal is not for Rodney to be mayor. My goal is for Jackson to be restored. And whatever the best way to get there, that's what I want to see done.
Man, I wish we had some hand claps.
No, I know you got to say, Marlena, cue up the hand applause. Hold on, here we go.
That's the type of humanness that Jackson needs, you know, and I'm not saying about voting or even mayor, whether it's you or anybody, just the city of Jackson and really our nation. Our nation needs that type of genuineness that cares about each other.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's a very valuable asset to have.
Yeah. And I think too, we gotta let mine is education of people. Like, there is no savior coming to say, like, you know, there's no one person.
It's on us.
It's the people are on June the 3rd. The people will go out and hire somebody. The majority, whoever the majority votes. So the people, the person who's going in work for the people. So the people have more control than they think they do. There's not one person that can come in here. So I would love for the people to understand that whomever you bring it in, like let's say we're gonna all work. I need this person to be able to work with all of us. I need this person to come and sit down and talk to. I may not agree with you on most things, but I need us to at least sit down and have an understanding. If I'm a Jackson resident and you're the mayor, like we have to know that the people are, you know, the people need to understand that they are in control of Jackson. And they're just bringing someone in to be the representative for the people. Right. And so I would love for, you know, like you said, that person who's coming in, we've seen it, like you said, nationwide. Most people come in to see what personal gain looks like in that role, instead of, as you're saying, hey, it doesn't matter what my goal is for Jackson to be better.
Well, and I've told any number of people, I really don't even like calling this a campaign. I prefer it be called an offer to serve. And you offer to serve. You do your best to allow Jackson to get to know Rodney and what he's about as best he can. And then it's left up to the voters in Jackson whether or not to accept the offer.
Yeah.
And that's genuinely, you know, my heart in this thing. And I look forward to see what we find out on June 3rd, but get back where you are. June 4th, I'm still going to be helping Jackson.
Yes. Well, I tell you this because I'm a marketing guy. You know, I always come up with the phrase.
He has one of the.
Well, no, he just said it though. Only thing I want to give you: win or lose. That's the phrase to always run with.
Yeah.
You offer to serve. You know, because and I can speak for not only me but for others. In most people's mind, one of the main deterrents from people that don't vote. I'm speaking about people that don't vote. It's because the candidate don't make the people feel that they're running for them, that they're offering to serve, as you say. It seems like most people are running for a selfish gain. And what I want every listener to understand that this election and all local elections are your most important election above who's running for president. Now, in Jackson, as far as the mayor goes, the mayor can do a lot of things for Jackson to help it or hinder it. And the citizens get to choose. Please understand that you have the power to put in office who you want. You don't have the power if you choose not to go vote and you say that, oh, whoever gets in, this, that, and the third. Just remember, if you don't vote, you don't have the right to complain.
Yeah, you know, and especially if you're not going to be a part of the solution, then it's like what, you know, and I've seen that recently. A lot of people point out the problems. Then my thing is, if I come to you with a problem now, we got to talk the solution. But if I just come with the problem and don't offer any kind of assistance, then you don't. Then you know what good is that? You know. So I totally understand what you're saying.
And this is going to have to be all hands on deck.
It
If we want our city cleaned up, well, let's make sure my yard and my street looks okay.
Oh, start there, huh?
Let's just start there.
Like LaMatt said, start here.
A friend of mine lives in Belhaven. They had a cleanup, and he kind of coined the term of let's put the curb back in curb appeal.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just clean the curb up in front of our house.
Start here, yeah.
And what they saw was then the neighbor next to them started cleaning theirs up.
Mm-hmm.
And we also need to acknowledge that if my street's okay
Mm-hmm.
and it is clean, why not go find somebody that needs help on theirs?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know this all sounds idealistic, but if we genuinely won't start taking that kind of pride in our city and doing the things that we can do, City Hall can't fix this alone.
At all.
There's not enough money. There's not enough resources. So we have to each decide what can I do to get a little momentum so we can start moving back towards the economic development and the jobs that everybody so desperately needs.
It's an expectation. If I'm cleaning my street, then I need the mayor to come in and say, okay, mayor, my street and our neighborhood is clean. Okay, now this is the expectation we have for you to, you know, be the same. If you're just saying, hey, mayor, I need you to come over here and fix my street, then it's setting a different expectation. I go back to the people are the one. It starts with the people. And people, you set the expectation to what you want your leaders to be. I just don't think it's realistic to think the mayor or whoever they elected, a ward person to come in. So if someone's saying, I'm going to come in and do X, Y, Z, and it's like, okay, yeah, they can be the manager of that, but not the fixer.
Well, you know, a prime example, I'm close friends with Representative Brian Pruitt Jr.
Mm-hmm.
and our close friends. And through his frustration of not being able to get government resources to provide some recreation in South Jackson, look at what he's done at the Ark. Y'all familiar with the Ark?
Yeah,
It's unbelievable.
Yes, it is.
And didn't have all the money when he started, just got started. And when people saw a little improvement, people started donating, and now it's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's just an example of what somebody with vision and passion and the credibility that he had earned over the years that people would entrust money to him. And look at what they've done. We have to replicate.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna get my picker and walk through the neighborhood, picking up all the trash. And you put the trash back down, I'm gonna sit out on the letter.
You gonna sit out on the porch?
I'm sit out there on the porch too, but I'm gonna sit out on the letter. I'm gonna take the
you gonna sit on that?
Yeah, I'm a mail. I don't want to touch the mailbox. I'm trying to put it.
Gotcha. I got you.
You know, mail out the letter because I got the address right there.
There you go. You know their address, right? Well, you touched on about the crime. Let's go back to that. And I want you, because you told me the story about the youth and how you've been working with them and some of the stories you've been hearing from the youth. I think when we talk about crime, we're running long then. Okay, my bad. I see we are. We talk about crime, and I guess tell people about your experience so far the past 3 years when you talk about it.
I mean, first off, in being able to spend time with you, you know, you recognize trust takes time. And Reverend Brown gave me the best advice: just be present. Mm-hmm. And through that, trust is built. But what that's led to is some really, really hard conversations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where I've sat on the front porch with a young man recently, and he said, "Mr. Rodney, I got PTSD." It started talking. He's 15 and he's lost multiple siblings to violence in Jackson, and he just started sharing his heart of everything he needed. And fortunately, you know, there's some very reassuring and applicable scriptures that I was able to talk to him about. Yeah. But that young man's hurt. Yeah. And we have that all over the city. And we got to recognize that these little blurbs we see on the news, that it's personal to somebody. Yeah. And recently read a book, Fighting Shadows, and one of the quotes in the book was, "We have normalized that which once traumatized us." Mm-hmm. There was a day at which a murder in Jackson was big news.
Right.
Yeah. And now it's become so normal. We've gotten a little too callous to it. We need to have more of those conversations so we can realize just how personal it is.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, I didn't realize, Lex. Thank you for telling me. We've had a great time, but you know, you have time flies when you're having fun because it really went by fast.
Yeah.
But I do want to try to get the question in. Do you have a question? I was going to ask about the neighborhood you grew up, the street. That's what I wanted to do. So we want to try. We're going to try to ask the question, and we get somebody in the next minute or so. We're going to give away those 2 tickets to the All White Birthday Bash in Kosciuszko, Mississippi. But my question, the first caller to call win those 2 tickets. My question is, what was you gave us the neighborhood, right?
Name of the street.
The name of the street in Jackson.
Oh, that's too hard.
Is that hard?
That's hard. I don't even
They
do
should have
that.
been listening.
I have no it. I have no it. I think.
What
Okay.
about the apartment complex?
Well, what's
It was
the
right
apartment?
across-
Okay, yeah.
Name one of the
Yeah.
apartment complexes that was
Right across.
right across the
right
street.
Yeah, I know
across the
that.
road.
He gave us an apartment. So the first person to call 601-948-5950 will win those tickets. You call in the next minute. You can get those tickets. We only have a couple minutes. Give us your last minute pitch to the Jackson voters that are listening right now.
June 3rd is the day. There are no runoffs. The most votes on June 3rd. You can have a mayor elected in Jackson with 35% of the vote
Okay.
because there will be no runoff. Whoever gets the most votes wins that day. Our website is DePriest4mayor.com. A lot of information there. We're on Facebook as well. And just please go vote.
Go vote. Yeah, most definitely. And this is we say all election, but this is an important election, you know. Whomever wins, this will be a new mayor. We know that it'll be a new administration going in. So it's super important for you guys, the citizens of Jackson, to go hire who you think will be the best choice to run your city, to lead and serve your city. So thank you so much for calling. Do we got a caller? No caller? All right. Well, look, we'll table those tickets the next time. Well, we thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Good luck. We're rooting for you and everybody who wants Jackson to be better.
Yeah, rooting for the city of
We
Jackson.
root for that's right. Rooting for you guys. Well, we thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys on social media for joining in. And you have the information to learn more on mayoral candidate Rodney DePriest. I'm gonna say it right. You guys be sure to tune in next week. We have American Idol season 8, I think she was. What's her name? She's coming in next week.
Lil Rounds.
Lil Rounds will be here next week. So tune in. Thank you guys, and we will see you next week. Handy, you can take us out. All right.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
Everybody want to ask questions now. I think because everybody like, are you out guys on today? I was late. Traffic.
Let's see on social media.
Well,
they enjoyed it.
I know.
All right.
That's
good.
good. Yeah.
Thanks.
Really? It's a little bit too late. Of course they will.